Hello there, everyone. How you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/entitled parents, where the parents are extremely entitled and think they deserve the world. If you enjoy the stories I have for you today, let me know in the comments. Now, I'm trying a new narration style that's a little more low-key right now, so if you enjoy that, let me know that as well. Now, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? We're going to have a sixth kid. We can't afford, so we expect you to give us your college fund. I am 19, my parents' second child. I have three brothers, 21, 13, and 7, as a sister, 16. We grew up poor, and our parents were often dependent on financial help from relatives, friends, or so on for raising us. This is because, even though my dad has a mediocre job, and my mom doesn't work, they just kept popping out kids one after another after another. My parents are very religious and believe that children are a gift from God. Personally, I think that's total BS. My parents' reproductive choices wouldn't bother me if it hadn't caused mine and my siblings' lives to turn to shit. While growing up, we never had new clothes or toys. We had to accept handouts from family members who were better off. We never went out or did anything fun. To top it off, we were well aware that the rest of the family looked down on us for constantly asking for handouts. Now, my older brother and I have managed to get into good colleges and are looking forward to a future that would be better than our parents' lives. He and I were staying at our parents' place for a while due to the COVID-19 lockdown. One morning, my parents called all five of us into the living room. Mom said she had great news. The smile that was forming on my face died a quick and sudden death when she said, "We're pregnant." I lost my temper. I asked them how they could be so stupid and irresponsible. Do they not have enough financial troubles already that they have to bring in another mouth to feed? My older brother tried to calm me down, but I was livid. After a lifetime of scarcity because of my parents' stupidity, they still hadn't learned their lesson. I asked them how they planned to provide for the kid. My dad told me I would have to give up the money our great uncle had left me. He had left all five of us some money which we would only access when we turned 18. I said, hell no, that money would help pay for my college expenses. He then called me selfish for not being there for family. I told them if they couldn't provide for the kid, they should get an abortion. Then my mom started crying and called me a heartless monster. Dad told me he was disgusted with me, and I told them there was no way I was going to pay for their stupidity, and the only thing I would be willing to pay for is a termination. What I was really worried about was my siblings' lives getting even worse. My older brother and I have escaped our parents' clutches, but the others, especially my younger sister, will be expected to help take care of the baby. No teenager deserves to have their adolescence ruined by diapers and a screaming baby. I know what it's like, as I had to go through that. It was expected of me to be an unpaid nanny to my younger brothers and sisters. My older brother could go out with his friends and have fun, but I had to stay home and help give baths to feed the toddlers. I decided to get some family members involved so they could talk some sense into my parents. I called my mom's maternal cousin. She's one of my favorite people. When I told her that mom and dad were having another kid, she reacted with, "What? Again?" I told her everything and how that they expected me to hand over my inheritance. She said she was going to speak to my parents and told me not to sign over anything. I promised her I wouldn't. Of course I won't. I also called two of my first cousins, one of whom is an accountant, so she could explain to my parents how much of a financial liability this baby is going to be, and try and convince them to either abort or give it up for adoption. I moved out of my parents' home a few days ago. I was going to stay there till the lockdown was relaxed, but I just can't bear to listen to my mom snagging about how this baby is a blessing and that I want to kill it. I've moved into a friend's basement for minimal rent. My mom's cousin paid them a visit about a week ago, and tried to tell them they weren't doing this child any favors by bringing it into a life of poverty. My mom was very rude to my aunt and told her that a woman who chose to remain barren will never understand a mother's love. My aunt never wanted kids nor had any, one of the reasons she's my favorite. My dad told her to get out, and the aunt told me there was nothing she could do. She did try, and I didn't blame her. The cousin tried to explain the economic impact this kid would have, and my mom cried about how everyone was trying to take away her baby. The intervention didn't do anything, so now I've decided to cut contact with my parents. I just can't watch my family slide further and further into a hellhole. I'll be maintaining contact with my sister, just to make sure my parents can't brainwash her. My older brother is going to stay in touch with all of them, which is a good thing, as he can act as a link between me and the other siblings if my parents ever forbid them from talking to me. Otherwise, I am done with these people. And there is an update to this story. Let me just go grab it real quick. Yesterday afternoon, I got a call from my older brother. He told me that my mom has miscarried. This is hardly surprising as she's in her 40s. I felt a huge wave of relief wash over me. My siblings not what My siblings' lives would not be worsened by my parents' insistence on adding another mouth to feed on an already tight budget. My sister would not be asked to give up her inheritance so they could have money for the new baby. My brother told me my mom had been crying, and while I did feel bad for her, I was still glad to hear about the miscarriage. I feel like we all dodged a huge bullet. My brother asked me to move back in for a while to help comfort my mom, and I told her I wasn't going to move because 1, my college would reopen in a few days, and 2, I am done with all the family drama. However, I did agree to come visit my mom, if only out of courtesy. In the evening, I went over to my parents' place. I took chocolate chip muffins for my mom, which I know she likes. My sister greeted me at the door and told me Mom had been in bed all day. After greeting my dad, I went into the bedroom. Mom was sitting up on the bed. I told her I was sorry about what happened and placed the muffins on the bedside table. She looked at me angrily, then threw the muffins at me. She screamed at me that she had lost her baby because of me. She said I had caused her stress and what's caused her to miscarry. She said I was probably glad her baby was dead, which is true, but of course I didn't point that out for obvious reasons. She called me a witch and said I had wished this upon her. She was screaming so loudly all of my siblings and my dad came rushing to the bedroom. She yelled at me to get out, and I did. I hugged my older brother and sister, and before I left, my DD told me my mom was right, that my cruelty caused her to miscarry. I told him that was a grossly unfair accusation, and reminded them that at my mom's age it was quite common to miscarry. Then I walked out. I am so done with my parents and their stupidity. I can only hope they won't try for another child. Someone in the comments says, of course they will try for another one, then demand your money as compensation for having killed the last one. That is a bullshit argument, and you should be ready for it. They've shown you who they are now, and there's no reason not to believe them. Most especially, don't let them know anything about your finances, lest they use that information to calculate the demand they will cause you the most pain if you comply. Now on to the next story. You can't just throw out a stranded pregnant mother and her toddler at 3 a.m. in the cold. Oh, yes, I effing can. Buckle up, everyone, for this bumpy ride. Okay, so I was chilling in my living room around 3 a.m. playing some video games. My parents are out of town visiting some friends, and I decided to stay home. House to myself and all, so here I am, nothing but my bra and panties, when there's a knock on the door. WTF, I think to myself. So I scramble to get my clothes on, and I answer the door. It was a family acquaintance with her already whiny little brat. She's also visibly pregnant, but we'll get to why that part is important later. Hey, what's going on? My car broke down, and the tow company can't come get my car until tomorrow. Think me and Brad's name can crash here tonight? Sure, you guys can sleep in the living room. I let them in. Anything you want to eat or drink? Coffee, if it's not any trouble. And I said, sure, no problem. So I go to make some coffee when I see this little shit picking up my controller. Hey, little guy, please put that down. Oh, he can't play a game? No, I'm in the middle of something. Plus, he wouldn't know how to play the type of game. But he really wants to, don't you, little shit? I wanna play, said little shit. And I said, no, you can't play. And then the little shit just screams, I wanna play, I wanna play, I wanna play. And then screams, throwing the controller at the TV, shattering the screen. What the fuck, I say, rushing over to my TV. And then she says, don't swear at my child. And I say, you just let him destroy my TV like this. She said, you're the one that didn't let him play the video game. I said, no, and you have to teach your brat that he isn't oh jack shit. And she said, how dare you? Just wait until I tell your mother about how you treated him. You'll make a terrible mom. I respond with, I'm not having kids, but if I did, I wouldn't let them be spoiled little shits like them. You are being the brat right now, she said. Just get a brand new TV and quit whining. And I said, yeah, I'll get a new TV with the money you paid me for the broken TV. And then she said, what? But you're the one who instigated, little shit. And I said, you know what? Just get the fuck out of my house. You and your brat are no longer welcome in my home. She said, what is wrong with you? I'm pregnant, and I have a toddler, and I have nowhere to go. You can't just kick out a stranded pregnant mother and her toddler at 3 a.m. in the cold. And I said, oh yes I can, you insufferable cunt. Get the fuck out of my house before I call the cops. She picks her brat up and heads inside the door. Just wait until I tell your mother about this, she said. And I said, yeah, I'll gladly tell her about your little kid did to my TV and that you refused to pay for it. She responded with the classic, you'll regret this, and leaves. The next morning I called my parents and explained what happened. They were very understanding because I was never I was never raised to be a spoiled little stain and a mom-mobile. Got a earful from my mom that if she didn't pay back, we would take her to small claims. She tried to play the, oh, woe is me, single pregnant mother, blah, 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 blah. But it didn't work, and she forked over the $500 for the new TV, and we understandably cut contact with her. Someone in the comments quoted part of Opie's post, saying at 3 a.m. because the little guy demanded McDonald's and refused to go to bed unless he got it. The guy said, this is so disgusting. The mom doesn't even have her child under control. I do not recall reading that part in the story, so I can only assume that OP had to edit their post to let it stay on Reddit. But that is definitely a reason to take a child out. The guy's basically Cartman, dear lord. No, Cartman's worse, but still. It could be as bad as Cartman if it keeps going down the way it is. Anyway, on to the next story. For our final story of the day, we have, you're my child, so I have the right to poison you. I'm allergic to fish and seafood. It's not the anaphylactic type of allergy, thank goodness, so I'm not going to die if I eat some. But I do throw up, have a stomach ache, and massive headache for a few hours. Enough fish and seafood, and I break out in small red hives all over my arms. My mother didn't believe it, and as a child I couldn't stand up to her properly. She would force me to eat stuff with seafood or fish in it to prove I wasn't allergic, then ignore me as I did get sick. One day she held a dinner party, and I was dressed up beautifully, and trotted out to parade before the guests. At this time I was around 9, precautious for my age, and basically fed up with my mother making me sick. When she held out a fish cutlet, fish cooked with vegetables, rolled into a ball, covering the batter and fried for me to eat, I saw my chance. I say, I can't eat that. I'm allergic to fish. Mother said, no you're not. Eat it. I say, I'm allergic. I'll throw up. No Asian mother will back down in front of guests for fear of looking like she can't discipline her child. I'll have to cut that out afterwards, dear lord. My mother grabbed the fish cutlet, shoved it into my mouth, and said in her most firm voice of command, eat. And so I ate it. Cut to about 10 minutes later, I go up to my mother and tug on her sari to get attention. I say I don't feel well and then proceed to barf. I vomited on her on the expensive carpet and in full view of all the guests. My mother has a reputation for being a kind, generous, charitable, and very religious woman. So in front of all the guests, she couldn't do anything. She could only act sympathetic and send me off to bed to recover. She never made me eat fish or seafood ever again. And that is the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And I think I'm going to keep that cough in there. It adds a little bit of character so people know I'm not an AI. People have called me an AI. Oh, excuse me. People have called me an AI before, and that shit's kind of fucked. But no, I'm just a guy that does voice acting on the internet that has a VTuber avatar. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Check out the Reddit story playlist if you want to see more. Bye bye.